Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning, Deborah Leanne.
I didn't even realize that we match. We like rhyme.
Hmm.
Oh, it's been a rough morning already, but let's get going. Before we started the recording, we already started diving into the material that we want to talk about with you all today, which is Gene Key 64, which is, according to the sequential order of things, it's the last of the gene keys, but it's not. And that is confusion to illumination through the pathway of imagination. And since this is something in my chart, in my culture, and how work with people in the world, I feel like I feel like we're talking about me personally, and it's not true. I mean, I know that, but and it is such a human thing. And I always thought it was just my issue, just the way my brain works. And to read the universality of this kind of was good for me, got me out of my own little self obsession, which is another one of my shadows. So, all tied together. So, how do you want to start the conversation this morning?
Well, you can start with some of your insights from your learnings, and then you can just riff off there.
Awesome. So, two of the things that we started on, and we both went, no, no, save that. Um, One is that during the pandemic, it was really very difficult for me to be in this place of uncertainty. And our brains love the problem. My brain is addicted to the problem solving and getting answers and making things fit into something, but there was nothing that this situation fit into. And so I had to put a timer on my phone because I became addicted to the various news sources on my phone. New York Times, BBC. I was doing world things because we were dealing with family and friends around the world. Anyway, it was crazy. I was constantly searching for something to calm this confusion and uncertainty down. And what did you say when I told you that? You go, oh, and that, do you remember?
No.
You said, oh, and that just drained the energy right out
Oh,
of
yeah. I mean,
you.
that's
Just,
an energy drain
mm-hmm.
from your own system because you're
Yeah.
so like obsessed or, you're getting information from other sources rather than listening to your own divine guidance
And
system.
and the biggest thing for me was to, can I sit and not know?
Yeah.
That was very difficult for me. There was something about the sitting with the uncertainty, sitting in an unknowing, and I had nowhere to go, even though I would try all these different news sources, right? And um, none of them were giving me the answers or giving me the comfort or giving me whatever it was I was looking for. So I finally was forced to sit with the pain of not knowing.
Yeah, I think that it is pain, and people don't feel very comfortable sitting with that space. So,
No.
and this is what Richard Rudd says in the 64 Keys. The more you listen into your body, the more you will attune to the collective sense of unease that is rooted in fear.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Hey, who really wants to do that?"
Yeah. Oh, gee, me, please. I'll sign up for that. I mean, I'm sure I did on the other side before I came into this life. I went, oh,
For
that
sure.
sounds like fun. Give me that one. I want that life path, please. So, um, it was the other thing that was fascinating to me was to the flip side of the gift. And I didn't put this together until the last 5 years or so when I started listening to this work, that the magi that is in the middle of imagination is also what's in magic and alchemy and you know um that whole playing with what I don't know, but using that as a source of what else could be.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
such a juicy place to be. And I was like, why was I choosing to just, okay. Do you have an answer for that? Why I was choosing?
Well, I think too, if we do tune into the collective, you can hang out in that soup for as long as you want, right? So this is now making that conscious awareness choice of where do I want to focus my energy? Do I want to keep contributing to that mass unknown confusion, or do I want to tune in and listen to my heart center and what I'm here to do? I mean, I deal with deafness all the time, right? Like, so that's my key that I, because I'm already listening to everybody else's stuff. And so I have to constantly go back in and to get my own insights, not listen to a bunch of other people's information or opinions or, it's, and each one of us gets to do this, but I don't think that we sometimes feel as though we have a choice. And so it takes a lot of practice to um,
Yeah.
dial back in.
Yeah.
And this is what it talks about because when we get to the gifts section, and I'm referring to the Gene Keys book in Gene Keys 64 by Richard Rudd, the suffering we feel, though real within the context of our physiology, is an illusion when it comes to our minds because our minds hold the key to its release. That's where the
Oh, that
that's
is
where the
so
imagination.
good.
Yeah.
I have read this chapter a bazillion times, and every time I hear somebody else read a line, I'm like, it's like I never heard it before. And so it hit me at a different level. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And it also talks a lot about this is one of the roles of meditation is
Hmm.
to allow this pain to rise up to the surface of your awareness so that it can be transmuted.
Yeah.
So we
That.
don't have to hold it in our bodies.
Hmm.
It can then, I don't want to say evaporate, but you see the illusion and it can just move through.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother conversation I want to share with you about ceremony when I'm so I think I want to say it was Richard Rudd, but somebody recently was interviewed and said this was a life-changing book for them. It's relatively new. It's called Sand Talk, and the guy's name that is the author is Tyson Yunka Horta. And I know he's an Australian Aboriginal Indigenous person, um, who compiled a list of stories that shows how Indigenous thinking can help us save the world. And instead of just saying, oh, it's getting closer to the land or this is how we live, it's not a telling. It's like he goes in and he created with his brother in law a whole bunch of shields with different designs on them. And then when he put it together and he shows the picture in the book, he says, this was my table of contents. And I
The
and
pictures.
the picture.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, oh my God, we are so like we have to try. And he even says the whole first introduction is about how hard it is to put wisdom into words, into some kind of communication that people can understand universally, because that's not the way wisdom works. And I
Not a process. You feel it. That's how I feel
exactly.
about light language too. I mean, it's a
it's
lot of
it's
people
a
say, "What do you? What do
it's a creative art form that creates a vibration or a knowing or an opening or a healing in other people. So this is that exchange.
you?" Mm.
One of my teachers calls it, I'm feeling you feeling me.
Oh, that's
And I love that. And it's not just I'm talking at you, it's like,
yeah.
and I feel like that's what especially close conscious conversations like you and I have, and you and I have with a lot of people. But that is why I believe this gene key shows up in my culture. I am
Mhm.
here to work with this with the people that I work with, that I come in contact with, that I play
Allowing their
with.
illumination to come through.
Exactly. And it's
They're-
not my illumination.
right,
It's
it's theirs. And
exactly.
so the interesting part about this whole thing is, we were created not to mimic one another. We were created to be our own unique self.
Yeah.
And so, there's so many people that go, "Oh, they're really successful. Let me do what they do." And it doesn't work.
Well, that's what the repressive nature of this one is, imitative. And I was not shocked, not even mildly surprised. I don't know what I would call it. I guess I was disheartened to read about how we all help each other stay in our little boxes. Like we create people in our to surround us in our little bubbles to keep us in these small places. I know. I know. It's like and it's interesting because there's certain
Yeah.
people that when I'm with them, my
Right.
energy goes into let's talk about what's wrong with the planet.
Ooh.
And I'm like, why is that my relationship with them?
Mm-hmm.
So
Some
that
part of
imitative
you,
thing was
yeah.
big. And then the other one, the reactive is the confused. Like, oh, I don't know, I can't take any action, which is also I play in that land too. So
Well, when we hit confusion, what are some tools that you can use when you get to that state?
when I hit confusion is when I start either speeding up or slowing way down. I'll either start like a manic person cleaning the kitchen or something. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? Or looking, like I need to be doing something. I need to be doing something. And then I'm like, I don't need to be doing something. So what am I running from? Or I get to the point where I just lay on the couch and go, I can't do anything. And both of those places are reminders that what are you in resistance to? You know? I mean, can
Yeah.
you just be with this discomfort that you're trying to either numb or
Mhm.
act out? Or it's so that's
Yeah.
my way of recognizing it. But I'm sure everybody has their own go to, like
Yeah.
noticing when you're just eating for no reason, or
Yeah.
what do you
Um,
do?
well, when I get confusion or overload, that I get quiet. I slow way down, and for me, it's again quieting the noise and really not taking in other information. So, because that's where it gets kind of confusing. It's like, okay, whose voice am I listening to? Am I listening to my own, or am I listening to a bunch of other nonsense?
Mhm.
So, that's when I usually either start humming or toning. I go outside, um, and I get quiet and I slow down.
Yeah. And that's what there's times where I just need to sit outside and listen to the wind and the birds. And that language, which my
Yeah.
brain doesn't understand, but my body does,
Yeah.
is a way for me to recalibrate or um, I don't know. So it also opens the space for imagination. It also opens the space for inspiration. And I'm still playing with this. You're so good at it. You and a whole bunch of the gals from School of Light. I am still struggling on what's my creative path because my creativity I felt was always in my delivery of my work. And now that that training and facilitation has slowed way down, I need another I need another path.
It's
So
interesting because you've done lots of creative outlets in your
I
time.
mean, gardening kind of, but now
Yeah.
it's more I need to weed and maintain. So that doesn't feel very creative. It feels like cleaning. So I don't know. So I'm playing with looking at painting classes or just like even digging out my paint. So I found a whole,
I was gonna say, because you've got a lot of tools downstairs in that basement. Let me tell you, I
you
organized.
know, John brought them all up for me yesterday. Say, do you want to go through any of this? And I'm like, oh, and I immediately I could feel the anger, like, and I thought, oh,
Oh,
wow. So yeah, so creativity and imagination and all of that is kind of having a little heyday inside right now. Yet I know that's my path
yeah,
to
yeah.
illumination. I know, like you just went to that art camp.
Oh God, it
I
was
mean,
so
what a
cool.
beautiful opening for you,
Mhm.
and healing and expression and all of that. And that is what I used to say in my tagline for business: illuminate your brilliance. I mean, it was in my wording of my marketing. And I've got a marketing piece I'm getting ready to rewrite. And I'm like,
Keep it.
I know, I don't know. So anyway,
And
I'm just
this is
laughing because
great. So my mantra this week, and I didn't even know this gene key was in my space this week, but of course my imagination must have known. Be a light unto thyself. I illuminate the dark places. Be a light unto myself. I illuminate the dark places within me. This is my work to do for myself, and I think that's true for each one of us. And this is, it's
yeah, being light bearers
for our own.
before
and
we
and
can be light bearers for others. May
right.
I be my own light bearer to
Yeah,
show my next steps, my way. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm and I feel like it's so big. I don't even know how to end this. So you guide me here because I'm like I could just stay in that land of confusion. And oh, we didn't even talk about the
Well,
program.
that's what I was going to say. I was going to move us over to quickly to the acidic state, which is all about illumination.
Right.
But I will say, born out of confusion. So confusion's not a bad place to be,
Mm-mm.
but born out of confusion only when you embrace confusion without trying to change it.
Oh,
Imagination allows alchemy to occur within inside your being if you allow it to. You can feel it and see it, because that, just think of it as like, well,
compost.
it's the end of the 64 keys, but when I think of it, I think of the zero, and like it's starting a new whole other cycle. And so it's gonna feel like a little bit of chaos, and that's where the confusion comes in, is because it's all changing. So it's all the elementals all working together, and then you're going to be birthing something brand new out of it. So you've got to have some of the confusion before all of the other new stuff gets
And he says
born.
that like before the Big Bang,
Yeah,
it was the buildup that created this
right.
universe. And the other thing that just keeps coming to mind using my gardening metaphors is the compost. I've
Mm.
thrown all of this stuff in there and all of last year's leaves and the food scraps and all of that. And then we dump that over in the fall and we have the most amazing compost for the stuff to come up next spring. I mean, it's just I know it's messy, it's not fun, and yet it's what nurtures something new to come through.
Yeah.
So
The acidic state of illumination is the direct expression of divine mind,
okay, now
because
that's a little
it's
big.
I know it is big, but it's following the wildness and the spontaneity of creation. It's allowing it to blossom out. And we don't know what it looks like. And so why would we judge ourselves for
Well,
creating it, you know?
talking about the programming partner because the self-doubt
Ah,
of the 63, which is also that's my vocation, which is probably why I work with women on confidence. Interesting. So self-doubt and
mhm.
confusion can really just play that game of feeding each other. but imagination and inquiry, whoa, like asking the questions and then allowing the unknown to bring something through. That's what's so stunning.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It really is when you start feeling it from that sense. And then what's the acidic state of that key too?
Truth.
Finding your own truth and illuminating
Yeah,
through.
truth, love, and light. I've been saying that for a long time, leading with truth, love, and light, living with truth, love, and light. Yeah, it's it's so funny how these words come through and then or they show up in my life in some ways and then I look at my chart and go, "Oh, it's what I'm supposed to be doing." Okay.
Well, you're not supposed to do anything. You just, again, it will come when it comes, you know? That's the thing that I was giggling at myself and while I was like brushing my teeth this morning and in the mirror, I was like, if we all just understood, just relax. Like, it's already done. Like, we've got all the tools inside. So why are we racing to the end or trying to get all the information? Like, there is will, but then there's also this beautiful knowingness that we have, we're fully intact, like an acorn. You know, it's got all the information to be a big tree. Same thing. Like, it's all there. So just relax into it.
And can I just get if I just get better, if I just learn more and more thing, if I
Oh, gosh, I've played that game. It's
read one
tiring.
book, if I so
Again, that's the confusion because it's like you're absorbing so much other information. And then there's this point in your life where just you're here just to share your inspiration, your gifts,
yes,
instead of taking in everybody else's.
had that conversation last week, Miss Suzanne. So we I love how we teach what we most need to learn.
Yeah, I know, because I'm working on it.
I think that's a great place for us to close. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone, for listening or watching or however you do this. And I would like to offer, I have a centering practice. I know Suzanne does too, that we can actually attach the link to if you'd like to use that to support you in getting into the place of recognizing how to work through resistance, doubt, confusion, your shadow stuff. And do you have something you want to offer too?
Um, One thing that came to me this morning was using the B flat note and humming to it.
And
You
where
can
I
you
can
can tone to it or you can hum to it, but a B flat note might be of help because it's connected to your pineal gland.
really,
Yeah.
okay, cool. I will look for the mudra for this one too. Okay, so I thank you for your time. Thank you for being my dear friend, and thank you for being my collaborator as we play through these dance through these gene keys together. So